Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncomplicated English Podcast. Today we are going to learn about Voyager 1. As always, before we get started, I'd like to remind you all that the full transcript for this episode can be found for free on my website at uncomplicatedenglish.com. On my website, I also offer one-to-one English lessons. So, today we are going to learn about Voyager 1. Voyager 1 is a spacecraft that has traveled further than any other spacecraft ever. In fact, in August 2012, Voyager 1 entered interstellar space. This means that it went out of our solar system. Our solar system is made up of all the planets that orbit our sun. They are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Of course, there is a more technical, scientific definition of where and what interstellar space is. But for now, we can just think of it as the space between different solar systems. Voyager 1, right now, is about 13 million miles away from Earth and travels at 38,000 miles per hour. Every year, it travels about 325 million miles, and when it sends a radio message back to Earth, it takes 33 hours to arrive. Voyager 1 was launched by NASA on September the 5th, 1977. NASA launched Voyager out into space to study the outer solar system. Voyager 1 is a space probe. This means that there is no one inside of it. It is controlled from the Earth by a team of people and computers. As it moves through space, it sends back data to NASA. Even though Voyager 1 was launched 42 years ago, it is still working and regularly sends data back to NASA. One of the main purposes of Voyager 1 was to fly by Jupiter, Saturn, and Saturn's largest moon, Titan. A moon is an object that moves around a planet. So, the Earth has a moon, and it is simply called the moon. Saturn has many moons, and its largest is called Titan. As Voyager 1 flew past, it took pictures and studied its weather and made many important discoveries. I recommend that if you have the opportunity, that you go look at some of the pictures that it took on Google, because they are really incredible. It is estimated that in about 40,000 years, Voyager 1 will pass to within about 1.6 light years of the star Gliese 445. It is interesting to wonder, what will the human race be like in 40,000 years' time? Will we by then be able to travel to other stars? Maybe one day humans will find Voyager 1 again. Or maybe some aliens will find it and ask themselves, where did it come from? Well, the scientists at NASA thought about this and came up with a genius plan. On board Voyager 1, there is the Golden Record. The Golden Record is a gold-plated disc and on the disc there are photos of the Earth from space, and also pictures of people and animals from all around the world. It also has recordings of sounds from nature, whale and bird songs, thunder, lightning, rain, and even music. There are songs from famous artists like Chuck Berry, Blind Willie, Mozart, Beethoven, and many more. On the disc, there are also common greetings in 55 different languages. On the surface of the record, there are a collection of symbols. Some of these symbols explain what the record is and how to play it. On the record, there is also a greeting from Jimmy Carter, who, at the time, was the President of the United States of America. And also, there is a greeting from Secretary General Kurt Waldheim, who, at the time, was the President of the United Nations. The man in charge of deciding what would go onto the golden record was a very famous American scientist called Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan also decided that on the record he wanted the famous Latin saying per aspera ad astra engraved on it. Translated into English, this means through hardships to the stars. Before Voyager 1 left our solar system, it took a picture of us. Yes, it did actually take a picture of every single one of us. The camera attached to the probe looked back to Earth and took a picture of Earth. This picture is very famous and is called the pale blue dot. This is because the image shows the Earth as just a pale blue dot that you can barely see. This is an important image because it shows us just how small our planet is. It shows us that even though often we like to think that our lives are incredibly important and that everything that happens on Earth is very important, we really are just a small grain of sand moving through space. Sadly, Voyager 1 is losing power, and it is predicted that by 2025, it will no longer have enough power to switch on or use a single one of its instruments. At this point, Voyager 1 will continue on with its mission alone, possibly forever. Before I finish the podcast, I'd like to remind you all of the famous Latin phrase that I mentioned earlier, through hardships to the stars. I think this can be quite an inspirational quote for language learners. There will be times where things are hard, where we think that we will never be able to speak fluently. But through these hardships, we must continue learning and never give up. Well, that's all for today. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. As always, I'd like to remind you that the full transcript for this video can be found for free on my website, where I also offer one-to-one English lessons. Thank you very much for listening.